Welcome to the MagiReco news. I'm your ranker, and our top story today. Vini Vidi Vici. I came, I saw, I rolled for the new magical girl. Or probably something along those lines. Now, as is usual for the new releases of Puella Historia, the old Puella Historia, in this case, the Heir to Yamataikoku event that we like the Puella Historia just before this one got special missions. And if you have beaten that Puella Historia chapter, the one with Toyo, then you get this Memoria. So far, you probably should have gotten all of these Memoria. This will be your next one in line, which gives light attack up and Magia damage up, which, yeah, is of course going to be pretty good on any light Magia character. But the thing is, we just had the light Magia Kimochi, so it's a little bit late for this sort of Memoria to come around, but maybe for the next one. Maybe for the next one you can use this Memoria if you don't get anything that's better than this. So you could use it for that one. But most importantly, and the reason why we're all here, it's Amaryllis. So this is the next Puella Historia character, and in fact the last Puella Historia character. Although here's the thing about the timeline of events right here. The next event after this is probably going to be the second summer event, because you only had one summer event so far, so we're still gonna probably get one summer event, and then after that it's already anniversary. So keep that in mind, we're already right up against anniversary, and I have a feeling that anniversary is also going to be the finale of the entire Puella Historia chapter. But this right here is the last normal Puella Historia chapter before the finale. And the finale is probably going to be something like Singularity Yachio. I assume that Super Yachio is going to be the next anniversary unit. But the point is, this is the last normal Puella Historia chapter. So this is the last normal Puella Historia character that we are going to get. And this Megoka right here is Amaryllis, who is a void type character, an Axel Gorilla support type, and the thing about her is that she creates a crap ton of ailments that you just throws at her enemies, okay? So we've had ailment machines before, okay? We had Mitama throwing tons of ailments at her enemies, usually curse and stuff like that, and like strengthened curse and stuff like that. And you'd had Livia throwing tons of ailments at enemies, like curse and strengthened curse. Everyone's kind of cursing somehow. These guys are not really very original, everyone's just cursing. But we also have Amaryllis now, also another void character that just throws curse and other ailments at enemies. Specifically what she does. So first off, let's talk about her connect, which is just damage up. It also gives curse and strengthened poison on hit. So when you hit an enemy with this connect, it applies curse and strengthened poison. Strengthened poison is just regular poison, but it deals more damage. That's basically all that strengthened poison is. Then you on top of that, you look at her Magia, which is so much. We're not quite there at the length of like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are like 5 times as long as this and about half the space of this. Like if you look at Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you actually kind of need a magnifying glass to actually look at all of those cards and see what they actually mean. But this is probably one of the longest sort of descriptions for a Magia that I've seen in a long time. And this Magia does strengthened damage to all enemies affected by status ailments. So it just does damage against all enemies. It's like an AoE Magia, but it does increase the damage if the enemy that you're attacking has status ailments. And I think it does more damage the more status ailments the enemy has on you, which is a completely new Magia type that we have never seen before, is what I would say, if we didn't have Holy Mummy before, because Holy Mummy already had this kind of special effect on her Magia. And Doppel, it's just that it was kind of shit, because Holy Mummy's Magia and Doppel did absolutely nothing. If you look at her Wikipedia page, I should have probably put it open, but it does nothing else except that it does bonus damage against enemies with status ailment. But as you can tell, this Magia does a lot more than that, okay? But it's interesting to see that they kind of brought this idea back of you have a Magia that just deals more damage the more status ailments your enemy has on them, okay? So this is what this Magia and Doppel does. On top of that, it has a chance to inflict poison, burn, fog, darkness, curse, dazzle, frailty, defense down to all enemies. You can kind of see why this is so much right here, because they're just fucking listing basically the entirety of all ailments and some debuffs as well, like defense down. They're just throwing everything at the enemy. Like, yeah, let me go through it again. Poison, burn, fog, darkness, curse, dazzle, frailty, and defense down to all enemies. That's quite a lot, right? There's a lot of ailments in there and one debuff as well. Crazy. And then, but that's not the end of this. There's even more to this magia, because apparently that's not enough. It also buffs all allies with damage up against enemies inflicted with stealth ailments. It's Addict Killer. Addict Killer is back, baby. It's only been 2 years since we've last seen Addict Killer, and it's only been infinity amount of years since Addict Killer was ever useful. Which is to say, never. But maybe this time we're finally gonna get a character where Addict Killer and ailments are actually gonna be useful. Probably not though, so it's interesting though that it's here, right? It's interesting that we have a character who is actually fully focused on ailments again, because so far they've had like 5 different characters that were fully focused on ailments, and exactly none of them were actually good. But this is the 6th one, so this time for sure, we have an ailment character that's actually going to be good, right? Okay, maybe not. What else does she have? Her active does, her SE active does defense down, further defense down, and attack down against all enemies. And once again, I've said this, I think, on the last character who also had a similar idea where you had the same debuff twice, so defense down and defense down again. And you might be wondering, why is it just 2 separate instances of defense down? And why can't it just be one instance of defense down that is just twice as strong? Well, the point is that you're eating through enemies' debuff shields. So you have enemies like Iroha and Madoka. In Iroha Madoka, they have debuff shields, for example. And by spreading out your debuffs across multiple debuffs, you're able to eat through those shields way easier than if it was all concentrated on a single debuff. This is why you have this spread out across multiple debuffs. So you have defense down, further defense down, and attack up on the active against all enemies. Then you on top of that, you also have as a passive down here, you have attack up and status resistance up to all allies for the entire quest, so another passive aura for everyone. Then you start the battle with 40% MP, which is quite a lot. It's like 60, I think it is. 60 MP that you start the battle with, awesome, if you have double unlocked. Then you also regenerate MP for the first 5 turns in battle. I'm not sure how much this is actually going to be, but you do have MP regen for 5 turns, which is fine. And yeah, that's basically her kit. If we look at her Memoria, her Gacha Memoria, it's anti-evade for the entire party for 1 turn, as well as damage up to self for 1 turn. Here's the thing about anti-evade, it's fucking useless. So evade was kind of a big deal in the early parts of the game, like in the first few years when everyone was playing blast characters and there weren't many ways of actually getting around evade. But nowadays, first off, every single blast character that is actually good, like Dark Kanagi, like Anime Yachio, they have passive anti-evade 100% guaranteed. They just don't care about evade, okay? So it's no longer a deal for them hitting that, for them hitting enemies that have evade. Secondly, nowadays everyone is spamming Magia, everyone is spamming doubles so fucking hard, and Magia and doubles ignore evade. You cannot evade a Magia, you cannot evade a double. Therefore, the only way that evade is even a thing is if you're not playing a meta blast character and you're not playing literally any character that worries about Magia and double. And even among those characters that don't care about either of those cases, which is only like 5 characters in the game right now, here's the thing. If an enemy is inflicted with an ailment, that enemy cannot evade anymore, okay? So you have a character like Amaryllis right here, who inflicts a crap ton of ailments on all enemies, and any enemy that has an ailment inflicted upon them cannot evade. Which is another way of getting around enemy evade. And there's a bunch of characters nowadays who inflict ailments on enemies, okay? tons of characters who inflict ailments. So the only way that anti-evade is still good is if you're not playing a Meta Blast carry, if you're not playing a Magia character, and if you're not using ailments. There's like no characters and no places left for that to actually matter. So anti-evade is kind of fucking pointless. It's actually completely pointless. Anti-evade entirely doesn't matter anymore. So even if this Memoria red gives anti-evade to your entire party passively guaranteed, it still would be terrible. This is a terrible Memoria, I'm sorry to say that, but anti-evade is entirely completely useless at this point in the game's life cycle. You just treat this basically as a one-turn damage of Memoria, and there's way better ones out there. The other one, I don't even care what this one does, it doesn't matter. So yeah, Amaryllis so far, where could she even be useful? I know some people have said that she's kind of like Dark Mitama, where she has a bunch of MP start. Maybe if her personal Memoria gives her like passively 30% MP start, which is way more than normal Dark Mitama, by the way, then she could get another turn 0 Magia just like Dark Mitama. She probably won't. Amaryllis probably won't be able to do turn 0 Magia just like Dark Mitama, but people are saying that she's someone who on turn 0 might be able to disrupt your enemies with ailments. Wow. And Dark Mitama is the best ranked Mirror's character. Therefore, if Dark Mitama is the best character and does ailments on early Magia, then if Amaryllis also does early Magia with ailments, then it must mean that Amaryllis is also really powerful ranked Magia, except she's not. Because first off, as I kind of alluded to, she probably won't be able to get to turn 0 Magia, while Dark Mitama can, which means your disruption is delayed by an entire turn, which is already entirely neck-breaking and entirely breaks the entire character's usefulness in half, if that is the case. But even if she does manage to get a turn 0 Magia, Dark Mitama does Skill Seal, does Magia Seal, and Attack Down. All three of these completely destroy the entire enemy team and make them entirely useless. Amaryllis has none of these. None of these. She doesn't do Attack Down, she doesn't Magia Seal, and she doesn't Skill Seal. Therefore, Amaryllis is not a poor man's Dark Mitama, she is just not a Dark Mitama. She is just useless. And I'm really sorry to say this, but Amaryllis, as much as I like the idea behind her character, is probably not gonna see any play anywhere in the entire game, unless some people are playing some really weird and crazy strategy in tournament, but tournament are Japanese players only, so if you're watching this video and you can read English, you probably are not Japanese, so I don't know. Overall, it's just, yeah, this character is probably the least useful Puella Historia character in the entire game so far, and here's where I win you over anyway. Even though I've just said that this character is basically one of the most useless characters in the entire game so far as like Puella Historia characters are concerned, you're still gonna roll for her, and here's why. She's cute, but more importantly, or less importantly, depending on who you ask, here's the thing about Amaryllis. Her Magia is called Decision at the Rubicon, or you could also maybe read this as Crossing the Rubicon. And she has a dice in her hand, or a die in her hand rather. And here's why that is important. So you see, when I first read this, I was like, hold up, I learned Latin in school, okay? And I know at least I've read a little bit about, you know, Ceasar or Ceasar, as people who don't know Latin might say. So here's the thing. When a Ceasar was crossing the Rubicon, he basically implicitly declared war upon the Roman Senate, because you're not allowed to bring a standing army into the Roman Republic without first relinquishing your command, right? Especially into Rome itself. Like, you have the Pomerium, and you're not allowed to bring soldiers across the Pomerium or weapons across the Pomerium. The point is, however, what I'm trying to get to is, by crossing the Rubicon, Ceasar was declaring war on the Roman Republic. And while he crossed the Rubicon, he was basically saying, as far as the historians go, he said, Alea iacta est. And Alea iacta est means the die is cast, which, if you combine the dice cast with crossing the Rubicon, you get a lot of symbolisms about I have just made a terrible decision that is going to have a grand impact on basically the entire known world, and as soon as I do this, I cannot go back anymore. I've made a decision that I cannot go back from anymore, and it's going to have terrible consequences. That is what crossing the Rubicon is. That is what the entire allegory of the dice cast, Alea Jacta, is supposed to mean. And her magia is called crossing the Rubicon, and her weapon is a die. And she's a Roman Magoka, okay? And if that's not a symbolism, then I don't know what is. Especially if on top of that you also keep in mind that she's apparently connected to the Pompeii volcano eruption, and she's a void type character, and you only become a void type by making a wish that actively causes a curse. She's about to make some terrible decisions in the story, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great. So because of that, you should roll for her. Her event, by the way, is a double tower which features Neo-Magius or something. I don't care. Like the double, it's just a regular double tower deck. Who the fuck cares? That was I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe button, ring the bell, and I'll see you guys next time.